Hi, I'm Dr. Sarah, and today's third Limitless Learner Summit takeaway is mental training and visualization, which is the content that Jim Kwik really talked about. And I could go on. I mean, there were so many takeaways for me when I'm thinking about the work I do to support course creators within the digital entrepreneurial space or digital small business space and delivery of courses or products, freebies. I mean, literally anything that falls into that space of delivering some sort of content. I put it into the bucket of course because that is the most common language that I have found within this industry. And it works because the course is something we're learning. So when we take the ideas from day one of this amazing summit, the big thing for me was the mental training and how we need to practice how we're thinking about things and how we remember things. I have always used the limiting belief that I'm not a memorizer because when I was little, and I hinted on and talked a little bit about this in the other Inspired by the Power of 9 video, I couldn't memorize math facts. It just wasn't something that I was good at. The same thing with capital states. I mean, anything that I had to just regurgitate the information, no matter the amount of practice I did, it didn't help me. Today, I became a memorizer. Today, I finally broke that limiting belief that I'm not good with this. It's just not a skill that I've been able to develop no matter how I've tried it, because I've tried this for years to break and retrain myself to be a memorizer. And part of it led back to a video that I've actually been meaning to create, so I apologize. This third one is going to be a bit longer because I'm going to tie it into the aspect of visualization. And just to give you a little bit of the scenario, Jim walked us through this exercise where we learned the 10 foods that we should be nurturing our brains with and going from there. So he first had us go through kind of the head, knees, and toes, you know, that whole song where I don't even know how that song goes, but I can tell you that we started with our head and we touched our head and he had this whole exercise. Then we went to the nose and we touched our nose. And so we first went through the visualization of the places and we connected the touch with that visual plus the description that he was walking us through. So we used our senses. This goes back to neuro-language or the NLP, so the neuro-language programming research that's out there and how we are. It all comes back to our senses, and when we can connect to the multiple senses, it resonates more with us and we're able to remember things a little bit better, and it helps us digest it and contextualize it. And then after we went through that whole process and we got all the way down to the bottom, we then connected the foods to it. So I can tell you right off the bat, the top food is the avocados. And I personally thought about it as avocado is actually really good for your hair, especially when you get curly hair. So we put avocados into our hair. We're letting that simmer there, but it's also good for the fats. Then the nose was blueberries, and blueberries definitely have a very distinct smell. I personally love adding them to my shakes in the morning and frozen ones. And I just love that extra smell that it brings in. Then when we get to the mouth, that would be broccoli. And the big visual that he brought up there is broccoli sticks in your teeth no matter what. So just thinking about how that gets into your teeth and you can't go, you just can't go from there. And then the shoulders was the leafy vegetables. And I just immediately went back to the 1980s when shoulder pads were super, super popular. But I think you get the sense of this now. It's the connecting that visual with what it is we're doing. And I, a while back in a Facebook group, had shared how I was using AI to visualize my offers and to visualize what it is I help people with. And so let me jump on over to my site here, which is the Course Impact Institute, if you're not familiar with it. But if you go out to the Course Doctor, and you have to spell that word "the" out, because I wasn't willing to fork out the $10,000 to get the domain of Course Doctor. But then once you're on the home page of that, you will actually get to this. And so up at the top here, you can see with AI's help, and there's 3 tools in all that I use, and that's still, I will be creating a video separate to that, so I'm not going to go down there, but I am going to go through the visualization for this, because once I was able to visualize my offer and how I help people with turning their courses into this human performance using the game of learning, where we are just really focusing on that results and delivering the impact to our entrepreneurial learners, it just flowed for me. And it took about a week and a half as I iterated through and incrementally built this out, but it's actually pretty solid right now. So I'm definitely not going to read this. I still need to head to the recording studio to finish this up. It's still a work in art process, but you can see right here too, it's the artistry of learning design and the science of human performance and the engaging framework of the game of learning that I have melded this all together with, and we put it into the context of Delia. And so when we go on down, this is the Institute. I have the visual. Again, this was AI helping me take that idea, that vision that I had for this. I can see my future clients pulling up and joining me at this institute. I can see us heading out on the yacht that I have, that's a whole nother, it never made it to the website, but it's a whole series that I went down, because in 2026, the goal is to offer a retreat. That retreat, in my mind, I envision on a yacht or on a cruise ship of some sort, where we are immersing ourselves into redoing our courses or leveling them up, scaling them, whatever the agenda is of each individual client. So from there, we go on down, and here I've got my quick call thing, but this clarity call, it's the phone booth inside the institute. So I can imagine on the back side of this, I'm walking in to it, or maybe on that far wall there, that's the entryway, and this is kind of like the sitting area. But I can imagine if I'm not on site and someone needs to schedule a clarity call, this is where they're going to come, because we're in that secluded location. Their phone isn't going to work. They can't just pick up the technology like they're used to. So you come into this old-fashioned clarity call phone booth where they can make the phone call and we can talk about their course. They're focused. We have the seat for them. There's probably a little fold down table is the way I imagined it. But it's that visualization to help remember, oh, that's right, Sarah offers the clarity call. I can hop on a phone call. She's not available to hop on a Zoom call this week, but you know what? I bet we can actually hop on a 15-minute phone call or a 20-minute phone call, and that starts at $87 right now. So helping my clients remember this and adding the visual to it, for me, I was super excited once this all started to fall into place. So now I'm going to head over to the Institute itself. I scroll down a little further on that image, you can actually see the Institute now. Again, helping people visualize, actually coming to this remote location, immersing themselves, disconnecting, having the opportunity to just embrace the impact that they can make and the time together that we're going to spend reworking, leveling up, scaling, whatever their focus is on their course. As we go on down, we go through here, and again, I'm still in the process of the video, so this will be talking through it, but I do talk about some of the story in there. And then we've got just that. I've put it into story time, but as I worked with AI a little bit more and Dali got to know my theme of this all, I envision us actually running a race in those mountains and heading through. So here we have that. We've set up a race for our people that they can participate in. They could do a 5K, they could do a half, they could do a full. We have trail races. We have those wonderful obstacle course kind of races too. Whatever it is that they wish to do with their course, we can set that up. We have the space, the location for them to come, immerse themselves and their students to immerse it, and we can visualize it. So keeping on going from there, I'm going to scroll a little fast through that. Same picture there. Membership options here again. You have the base membership, which is a season pass for that. That would be like getting your card to scan on into the Institute. Or you can actually join the Beta Elite Season Pass, or with the purchase of the Elite Season Pass. And right now it's in beta. And it kicks off with the Reimagination Boot Camp. Or we will be having the Concierge Partnership as well, which really just is our cycle that we go through. So if I scroll on down, here's the cycle through it. So we start off with the Reimagination Boot Camp. It goes to the 90-day sprints and then into that fractional partnership. So it's that whole cycle, iteratively and incrementally going around in our cycle. But from there, heading on in, again, here is that season pass that you can get. What do you get with it? Well, you get access to our learning labs. You get to join our community, which is the Hubrex Cafe. We also will be having seasonal guest performance experts who will zoom on in with us. Or if we're having retreats, they'll come. But here we have that 3D person coming to join us. We do seasonal book challenges. This season, it's going to be Limitless, because why not? When we're doing a Limitless Learner with Jim Kwik, we would just continue to learn more about the learners and how they learn and how we learn ourselves. The Elite, here we have that elite space. So this is kind of that upper level of things where you're coming on in. This would be an exclusive club. For me, my mind immediately went to the military and how you had the enlisted clubs and the officers, or the officer spaces as well. So we have that separate space you can come into. And then scrolling on from there, you have the Reimagination Boot Camp. Notice that openness. But then here's that 90-day sprint. We're heading on in, we're focusing, you're targeted. You have this whole runway for 90 days that you're working on. Going on from that, we get into the beta, that it talks about that. But then I have my course space, which is also that elite space of the vault. You can gain access to that. What do you get inside there? We get some deep dives into Delia. If you haven't read about Delia yet, please do go on here. She's on I think it's on the Work With Me page, but also up at the top. The 5I Impact Cycle for Mastery, the Game of Learning, the Impact Report strategies, and then here we of course have a tech center. So adding that visualization helps people understand and that connection. And so when I'm walking through this with a client or a prospective client, they start from day one seeing it, and this becomes part of my branding, part of my course, part of the structure within my course system on the back end, these visuals. It's the same thing I've been doing within my teaching since I was teaching those littles, and we would have our themes that we did within our classrooms. We would start the season, at least I did, with a patriotic theme. Being former military, we made a chain link American flag that was a team partner work kind of thing, and it was just a really great way to kick things off. And like our science units, we had themes every single quarter. It was animal studies, rocks and minerals, electricity, and then we wrapped up with land and water. And so each of those, we had a theme part of our learning curriculum. We do the same thing within our courses when we're working with our entrepreneurs. They have certain things they come to us for. It may be to learn the foundation of what we have, Or they may be coming to be part of your mastermind where they're more focused on the networking and the peer relationships versus learning from you, but they have access to your vault of whatever knowledge you've shared in the past. They still have access to that. Or they may come to you for the community because you're known for building these amazing communities for people where it's an open Facebook group or something. But you have that expertise and you are bringing that and focusing that. You set the stage, you bring in the theme, you bring in the visuals for it. This is an overlooked part of that post-transaction. We don't take the time all too often because once they're in there, we're rushing. We have been taught these methods to, sell it before you build it. That's great. But there is something to finding that teeter-totter of it and finding that balance between having the clear visual to help them see the greater picture while still staying focused on the small parts of it. So hopefully this has left you with some food for thought for your offerings, whether it's a freebie that is leading up to some part of one of your current offerings, or if you're looking to head into an ascension model. How does it all connect at that greater level? And then how do you bring it all together? There's an activity that I work with my clients on where we build a village, and that village is the part of it. It all started with a river analogy, actually, and that is all part of the reimagination boot camp where we dive in, we rethink what you're doing, because if we're looking to scale and bring up and level up what you're doing, we want to be able to rethink it. We want to be able to put it into new context or break it out or create the impact report that you can actually share with prospective clients and use it as your marketing. But we have to reimagine the course itself and the content you're creating so that we can start pulling those pieces. And that's an iterative and incremental process. So thanks for listening in here. If you are not already enrolled in Jim Kwik's Limitless Learner, I will put the link down in the descriptions. I have no affiliation with him at this time. In the future, it is my hope to have that affiliation with him. But for the moment, I just am embracing the fact that he's talking about the learners and helping people learn how they learn themselves, so we can then contextualize it together in the context of your courses or your product suite, which is really what the course amounts to, and that is a future video that's coming. Thanks again for listening, and come back tomorrow for the takeaways from day 2. I'm going to do my best to try to limit them to 3 takeaways each day. Thanks so much.